Hi, welcome to another edition of MTG Playback. I'm Mark. I'm an actual pastor who plays Magic the Gathering. And it's been a while since I've done this, and I want to wish you all a very happy new year. I'm going to try to get back and into this game, playing it more often. It's been really busy with deaths and funerals and hospital visits and Christmas Eve and New Year's and all those kinds of things. And so I need to make sure that I am taking time to use my brain in different ways. And by focusing on this game, focusing on the problems this game, the little intricacies, the thinking things through, it helps me become a better person and a better pastor. So talking about being a pastor, one of the things that I'm continuing to use is my BANT, my blue, white, and green angel deck. It's very basic, but the whole point of it is to have a bunch of flyers, get on the field, and go over the top of the enemy as quickly as possible. Now, you might have noticed, especially since it was Christmas Eve recently, that a lot of jokes on the internet talk about what is a biblically accurate angel. And if you read in the book of Revelation, you read in the book of Ezekiel, there's all these descriptions of creatures that are sometimes identified as angels with a million eyes and six wings and different faces. And they're kind of anything you might want to imagine out of a Greek mythology book. And while those creatures are identified and named and described in Scripture, those aren't technically angels. They have different names like cherubim, etc. An angel is in the Bible and in Scripture is anyone who has and brings a message from God. Sometimes that message can be pretty traumatic. Sometimes the presence of God can be so frightening and so terrifying that the angel has to respond. Say the first thing out of their mouth is to do not be afraid. But an angel is just a message from God. It's just a voice from God. It's a word from God, and usually is a word that is to bring comfort and hope while challenging and transforming us. So often in Scripture, these images of angels are actually designed and viewed as human-like, but they come with such a sense of power and divine presence that is bigger than charisma. It's bigger than something being cool or hip or any of those things. That the first response when we see it and engage with it is not of comfort or peace or wonder. It's fear and terror, because it's the presence of God, the creator of the universe, showing up to you. Which is why the angels continue to say, do not be afraid. But my hope is with this deck that my opponent will be afraid as I go over the top. So let's get into this game. I'm very, basic level again, bronze level here on Arena, and I'm playing Sir Moldy Butt. Well done on the name. So here's my opening hand. I've got 3 lands, enough of my colors, and no 1-drops though, no 2-drops. This is going to be a slow output of my deck, which I'm not thrilled by, but it is what it is. My opponent has to mulligan, which is good for me. They had to put 1 card back. And I'm trying to decide now, I don't have a 1-drop, but what can I put down to signal to my opponent what I'm kind of playing? So I decided to go pretty basic, Seachrome Coast. I'll finally get a 2-drop of Faerie Mastermind. So I'll just put it in here. Again, a reminder that Faerie Mastermind can flash. It can come in at any time. You can cast an instant spell. So I'm kind of just going to keep it there to see what happens and what my opponent is doing. They play an island, and then they play Basuge, who endures. I'm mispronouncing that, but that's just, they play it as a land, so it's a forest. So I'm not quite sure what deck this is. They don't do anything, so I decide to flash in my Faerie Mastermind. I know they have 2 open mana. I'm assuming they have a counter spell. So I was playing for that counter spell so then I could cast something next. It doesn't happen. So that's kind of surprising. So play a land. I drew my own counter spell and make disappear. I'm going to attack just to get some damage in. And then trying to decide, okay, what do I do? They didn't counter the Faerie Mastermind. They did kind of hesitate. And their cards lit up in their hands, so I've got to kind of play that they might have a counterspell. All right, first thing they're going to do, they're going to try to play this creature, and I'm just going to get rid of it. This one is one where you can tap it and cast big spells for more mana, so it's a ramping. And oh, look at this. They have the little I don't know the name of those, but the little characters that can come up and yell at you. So they're tapped out, so I'm going to bring in one of my bigger creatures. Sigarda, Champion of Light. This is a card that I just have in this deck because the card I really want is Sigarda's Blessing. And I just don't have enough of those. I only have 2 of them, and I want another one. All right, so they're yelling at me, which is fine. But they still have 4 open mana. I don't know exactly what deck they're trying to play. Could just be a pile of cards. Now they seem to be slow, which is something. And if I was better with my YouTube edit to YouTube, I just kind of like fast forward through these parts, through these scenes. But they play a Deep Fathom Echo, which is a card I'm not very familiar with. But every once in a while, it explores, which means you can look at the top card of your library, and you can either put it in the graveyard, or if it's a land, put it into your hand. And if you put a non-land card, you can actually pump up your creature. So let's just get another creature in here. Sigarda, Champion of Light, has this ability that if you have 3 creatures with different powers, when you attack with it, you can look at the first 5 cards of your library, and then you could put a human or something into your hand and the rest of the bottom of your library. If you notice that, I had a few land in there, and I also had a couple 2-drops. I had a Giada, I had some other creatures as well, things that I actually want on my deck. So I'm kind of annoyed. So this is something interesting. I attacked, and anyways, they went to their turn. They cast Disturb Slumber, which becomes a creature. Then they explore, because they're now in combat phase. They then hide their creature and make it on land, and then they attack. Now this is smart play on them, because I have to block it. The spell, you have to block it, and I only have a 3/4 that can block it, so I'll lose the 3/4. They won't lose the land. I think my opponent doesn't understand how that card works because of the Deep Fathom Echo, and I didn't know how it worked either. I didn't think it would copy the land, but it did. And he had an Atraxas Fail, which is a card no one has in their deck, but is pretty potent against me because I have flyers. So I lose my big flyer. So now not as much damage on the board, and I just top one in, importing Overseer. Now I should go back to say what I said, that, Atraxas Fall or whatever, that no one plays it. I haven't really been paying attention to the standard metagame in a while, so I don't know if anyone plays it. I just know when I was drafting, no one really played that card very much. Alright, so they're going to do this thing again. Another Disturb Slumber. They're going to get the island. They're going to explore, and they're going to get another land in their hand. Then they're going to move to attack. So there's 8 damage coming my way. And I decide to destroy the land. The reason why, because I'd have to block with my importing Overseer. Now that I reflect on after doing that, I'm not quite sure if that made the most sense. Because the fact they didn't counter it. So which means they're not playing counter spells, which is just, I just think that's right. Or at least they're not drawing counter spells. So I kill their creature, I kill their land. I know in their hand that they have multiple lands, so it was kind of a waste to get rid of it. I probably really should have taken out their Deep Fathom Echo. Luckily, I draw another Get Lost, which gives me some options. I'm going to get some damage in over the top, get them down to 4. I only have 5 mana available. I want to keep the Wandering Emperor open. I am thinking and guessing that they do not have counterspells. But you never know. It's blue and they have open mana. You should always... I'm just assuming that they have it. So the opponent is still there. Sir Moldy Butt is still there. Another Atraxas Fall. I decide to just let it happen. And I did that because I wanted to save my mana so that I could use my Wandering Emperor. So it seems like this is some type of deck that is trying to get a bunch of flyers, big creatures, big things out, and have them transform in different ways. So it's an interesting dilemma. Cast the Wandering Emperor. They've used up all their mana, so even if they had a counterspell, they couldn't do anything about it. I will exile it. I'll gain 2 life. And they're thinking. Now, are they really thinking, or are they just trying to slow down the game? I have no idea. They only have 2 cards in their hand. What could they be thinking about? Oh, and let me retract. Actually, they do have open mana, but I guess they just don't have any counterspells. I just think that's strange to have. Maybe there is a deck, metagame or whatever out there that does this, but it just seems very strange. So they're just delaying time here. They're just trying to slow the game down as much as possible. So I'm just going to sit there and kind of hang out. Again, so let's kind of speed up a little bit here, because what's the point? Here we go, speed. They're just looking around, and they're going to use a timeout, and now it's my turn. All right, so go back and play. All right, I draw a land. Sort of helpful, maybe, not really. And here I made a mistake. So I should have used the Wandering Emperor, pump it up 1 to give my Inspiring Overseer a +1/+1. But I didn't. I made a mistake. So I'll do it afterwards just to get it up a little bit. Then I'll catch another Inspiring Overseer, and I draw a Wedding Announcement. I then have enough land to do this, so I'm going to do it. Get that out there. Now I'm going to start getting some more tokens. My deck's going to start speeding up a little bit. I'm all tapped out. I've got nothing, and then they cast this. So this is, I'm going to pause right here. Titans of Industry. It's a big, big creature. It has, it's a 7/7 when it enters, and has reach and trample. And when it has 2 options. You can destroy target artifact. You can just, a target player gains 5 life, or you create a 4/4 green rhino creature, or put a shield counter on a creature. And they get to pick 2 of those. I did not expect a Titans of Industry to come out. Thinking back, I should have expected bigger creatures, because they had that one creature in the very beginning that gives mana to make bigger creatures. So I don't think this turns the game at all. I still have 20 life. They're at 2. I've got flyers. It does have reach. But they've used up all their mana, and they've gained their life. Now they're at 5. And luckily, I have another Get Lost, and they're all mana tapped out. So let's get rid of that. I decide to pump up one of them, make it bigger. I'm going to attack those, keep my blocker out, just to not waste a token. Going to end up drawing another card from the Wedding Announcement. It also gives me handy that I have a Make Disappear that's still available. So we're going to wait. They're going to cast another land. Now they do have this Mutagen Connoisseur is a flyer, which is, and I'm thinking, do I make disappear it because he has a bunch of land just in case with that other card? So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let that come out. I still have 2 flyers. They've got 1 flyer. I need to save just in case I need to do a make disappear, whatever their second card could be. And I still have no idea what that card could be. It's just not. It hasn't been revealed yet. Is it supposed to be another Titan of Industry? Is it something another big? I don't know. You look at the graveyard. It's just kind of a weird graveyard. It's a weird deck. I think the whole point of it is blue-green, get some big creatures and get a lot of transform creatures. All right, so this person is just kind of taking their time. So we're just gonna go through, zoom. Zoom. They're still thinking, but they're really just delaying it. They're down to 1 life. All right, let's go. All right, my turn. All right, Wedding Announcement. Why not? I have plenty of land. We're going to pump this up again. I'm going to keep my counters, my Make Disappear just in case. I'm going to attack with 2. And they're going to look around, and they're just going to delay, delay, delay again. Finally declare blocks. Use a timeout, and here we go. First strike damage. Pop it again. And that's it. Game over. So thank you for watching this edition of MTG Playback. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit about angels, and I'll see you next time, hopefully sooner than a month from now. Take care.